Hey Lucy,
Hi.
welcome.
Thank you.
Okay, so just over 6 months ago, we started working together. So can you tell me like where you were just over 6 months ago before you started to kind of where you are now and like the growth and progress you've made?
So I remember actually getting on the first call with you, and I was hesitant because I just thought, like, I'm at that point now where I'm a bit stuck. Didn't know what to do, felt really overwhelmed. And as well, where I was around 15k. But I remember just thinking I physically want to grow, but at the same time, I also can't take any more overwhelm. So at the point where I started, I was overwhelmed. I literally didn't have a clue how to run my business. I felt like it was literally controlling everything around me. Wasn't sleeping, wasn't training properly. It was just consuming all energy. I got on a call with you simply because I wanted to grow, but I also wanted someone to work within my business to help me actually get where I wanted to be, because I knew that wasn't it for me. So fast forward, so I started on 15k, 2 people within the business, me and my coach. Fast forward 6 months, I've got 6 people, double my income, in the best position I've ever been, with more time and more freedom and flexibility.
Amazing. So for me, like I think, I definitely think it requires something for a coach to get to kind of like 15k a month. But I think only like a small percent of people can actually get to like the levels you have, like 30k a month, consistently, a team of 6. So what would you say for you is like maybe the mindset shift you needed to go from kind of like 15k per month to 30k per month?
So the main thing for me was definitely the confidence and the knowledge. Like, there's no doubt that, people who are stuck at 15k, the main reason they're stuck is because they simply just don't have the knowledge to get to 30k. Like, just looking back now at 15k and where I was, it's crazy because the knowledge I have now compared to then, it is just incredible. It's definitely the knowledge, but as well, it's the confidence knowing that you can actually build a brand, build a business, to actually bring them numbers in the first place, and as well have the confidence to build a team. Like, if you're someone who's spent years being on your own, building a team of people, it's not easy, and it literally is a skill in itself. So you need to learn how to actually do that in order to scale your business.
Yeah, so for you, like going from kind of like being the main coach and having a team of 1 to being a team of 6 and actually having to be more of a leader and managing the team, is that something you found like challenging to navigate, or like talk me through that?
So you know what, when obviously we first started working together, I was a bit hesitant because I thought, like, I've spent 8 years being my own boss and like being in control of absolutely everything. But obviously for me to scale to where I am now, I had to obviously, improvise and change things around, which was a massive, massive shock. And as well, like, half of me was a bit hesitant because I was like, oh, I'm trusting you with my whole business here and advising me what to do. And as well, just being able to trust coaches to actually, get amazing results, keep clients happy, and essentially run and manage the things that I was doing. So you know what, there was challenges along the way. However, it's been the best challenges. I've learned so much. And as well, I look back now and I just think I've made the best decisions for my brand. Like, I've got happier clients, happier coaches. We've actually turned 3 clients into coaches, and they've produced some of the best results we've ever had. So if anything, now the business is absolutely thriving. And I have had to learn how to take a step out of the business, which was essentially a hard thing to grasp, but I've done it, and it's been the best move I've ever made.
Yeah, I think you and me are similar, because it's actually a lesson I learned. Ben Francis, the CEO of Gymshark, he said when the CEO and the business owner vision for their brand is bigger than the vision for themselves, that's when they have like unlimited potential. So I think for you, it was never about you. It was about like your coaching brand, it was about your team, it was about your clients. So you kind of selflessly said like, okay, I'm going to like almost take a step back and not be the main coach, so I can be the business owner, so I can be the leader to
definitely. And I think as well, like for me, I knew I wasn't giving my clients everything. When I got to that point when I signed up with you, like I knew like I couldn't give them everything because I was doing the marketing, the lead gen, trying to coach them, trying to do everything, and then as well coach like 80 people with obviously my coach Lauren. So it was like, it got to that point where it was like, okay, we still got people coming into the business, like new clients. How am I going to optimize this and structure this to a point where I do take that step back? But as well, I have coaches that I trust. And honestly, it's been a massive, massive change, but it's been the best thing in the world. Even just watching, you inspiring clients to become coaches is amazing feeling. It really, really is.
And that like speaking to you now, I can see like a huge amount of belief. Like, is that something like you've always had? Like, did you always think you'd get
never
to coaching business?
Never. So obviously, I remember I literally spent 2 years on 2.5k a month, and literally I spent 2 years there because I thought I knew everything. I'd done a business degree in University of Liverpool, done 3 years there, racked myself up in 50 grand's worth of debt, thought this was it for me. But then, it's really not. Like, you learn on the job, and also you need to develop skills along the way. So like, you have to be willing to invest in yourself to grow. And I literally 15 months ago was at 2.5k. Now hitting 30s. So it just shows the growth. If you do invest in yourself and you believe in yourself to the point where you know that you are your biggest investment, you will thrive. And that's the difference. People don't realise that, you know, if they just pick in it, like if they invest in themselves, it will pay off.
Yeah. I think as well, it's like with belief, it's like environment as well. So let's say if you were in like a local gym in the UK, like nothing against it, but you may be around trainers or coaches who are also doing 2K a month.
Yeah.
So then for you, it could be an idea of like, okay, if that's my environment, I almost think this is my ceiling. So you don't really have the people around you to, so then like working with me, or like I know you're good friends with a lot of successful coaches. So if someone can kind of see the vision for you and like where you can go, and then you're like, okay, I trust them. I know they usually tell me the truth. So
and it like again, like what you're saying is right, because you know I remember being on 2.5K a month, like literally in the kitchen, just like really stressing because I was working like 14-hour days. It's crazy because I was working more then at 2.5K than I am now. And I remember just like messaging JJ, like voice noting him on Instagram. It's like 4 years ago, like because I used to work with JJ. Like, what's going on? Like, how are you getting to this point? And he was like, get a mentor and invest in yourself. And I was like, oh, well, I don't know. You know, I can do it on my own. But it's like, you know, you can't. And like the reality of it is like, now I've learned how important investing in yourself is. And I think as well, you're saying there about environment, it's so right, because yes, being in your environment, if you are someone who's, you know, PT and you're trying to transition into an online coach, the best thing you can do now while you've got that stability as well on the floor is invest. Because otherwise you're going to spend so much time literally wasting, like plodding away, thinking you know what to do. Looking at other coaches, thinking, oh, I'll take ideas from them. But in reality, that's not what gets you to where you want to be. So like, yeah, 100% it can be your environment, and that can be really, really dangerous, or it can obviously help you succeed. Yeah,
100%. I think one of the biggest things when I started working with you was like actually wanting you to like highlight your uniqueness, because I think you're definitely special in that way. So and I think, you know, there can be almost a part of you where you're like, should I just be the same as everyone else? So you might like look at someone's content or the way they're doing things, and you may just think like, oh, I should just follow them in that way. Like, what was it for you that I think you have like a really authentic brand? Just kind of like talk me through like kind of getting your authenticity and actually being like super confident.
So I think as well, like when I first spoke to you on the phone, I remember saying to you, like, I feel like I'm going through a bit like of an identity crisis a little bit, because I've been in the industry for like over 8 years. But for me, I was like losing myself a little bit, because I was looking at everyone else thinking like, okay, well, they're doing this way, they're doing this that way. And then I'm trying to portray someone that I'm really not, because I felt a little bit pressured to like maybe talk a little bit better, you know, maybe not be a sweary scouser that I am. But then it's like, you were like, no, just be yourself. Like, you're not gonna like, you know, if you're authentic to you, you are gonna do well. But that was something like I felt like, oh, I don't want to be myself, because I feel like people are gonna judge me, or you know, it might pull me down and like ruin my brand. But it literally got me from 15 to 30k, me just being myself. Like, since the minute I started working with you, I felt so much more relieved, because I was able to just be myself. And then as well, clients are feeling that energy, people were coming on the call and feeling that energy as well. So it was having that confidence to just be honest and be yourself. And I think as well, like, you know, being in Dubai, there's scousers, but you know, online coaches, there's not many. So I felt like as well I had to like try and fit in. But in reality, the minute I just broke out of that and just thought, no, I'm just going to be my authentic self, that's when I really started to thrive.
Love that. I think something you said there as well about like getting on a consultation call or a sales call, and for them to feel your energy. So like, you know, I think sometimes coaches can have like a need mindset, like they need to sign someone up or they need to make so much money. What I was always so impressed with you was almost how you were always growing from like quite a positive place.
So for me, getting on a sales call, I used to just automatically think, okay, well, this isn't going through. So straight away, if you've got that negative mindset towards yourself because you have no self-belief in your sales, you're just automatically giving that person that energy. And not even that, you're essentially just shutting it down before you've even started. So for me, I thought I knew how to sell before coming with you. I didn't have a fucking clue. Like, I didn't. Like, it's crazy, because getting on a sales call then, it was just negative, you know, okay, they can't sign up. I didn't know how to actually, you know, break through client barriers and as well challenge clients, you know, why not? Whereas now I get on the call and I'm like, okay, this is going through. And that's exactly what's brought me sales from 40% closing to 85% closing, is actually having that self-belief and not having that understanding who is on the call, breaking through the barriers, challenging them. And it's essentially like having that belief in myself to encourage that person that I can actually help them. And that's the thing, like once you have the self-belief in your brand, that you know that you can take that client the whole way and get them the result, then you will sell on a call. 100%. But it's essentially having that.
100%. I think the word there is like conviction. So like you're so convicted in terms of like what you do, what your program can offer. And it's probably even from yourself, like you've invested in fitness coaches who've helped you immensely, obviously working with mentors, helping you immensely. So you're on a call with someone who's struggling in their own life and their own goal in most cases. So you're kind of coming across from a place of conviction, being like, I know how much this can help you. Like I know how much investing in your health and fitness can help. So I think it's as you said, just kind of portraying that on a call. So I think, yeah, when you came to me, I think you were at like 50%-ish closing rate?
40.
40? Okay. Which isn't bad. I think like 50% is okay. I think you'll probably, without any sales ability, being like the really good coach you were and being like getting really good results, you will get people signed up. So for you to get from there to over 80%, which is actually pretty unheard of, especially with the price points that you're selling, because like your program isn't cheap. You know, some people will say they get all their sales calls in, but then they say they're £100 a month. So it's kind of easy for them to do it. So for you to get to like 80%, 85%, obviously we spoke about conviction and you kind of just really getting that through to people. But is there anything else you feel was like a big component?
The biggest component for me was I didn't know how to structure a sales call. So when I first started with you, I remember like the first week I was like really diving into like the sales. You were teaching me about how to actually break the call down and essentially how to actually do it properly. Like my sales calls before, even like looking at them back, I'm like, they're so scatty. You know, I can even feel my own energy on there. Like I'm worried, you know, I'm like worried what the person's going to say. And there's just no confidence. Whereas now it's like, I know exactly if that client's getting on the call, I know exactly how I'm going to present it. I know how exactly I'm laying out the foundations, where this client started to where they're going. And essentially that client, before they even come to the price point, knows that they're going to invest with me. That's the difference. Like it's the confidence from me, but it's also the confidence from the client knowing that they can invest in me because they know 100% I'm going to get them where they want to be. That is the difference. And I think as well, like what I've learned from you is how to actually bring clients on who are very challenging at selling. Like I used to challenge people and it never used to come through. And I used to think like, what is it? How am I actually going to get around this person? But in reality, it's like you need that skill. Like you need that skill to understand people. And as well to know like not everyone coming on the call is going to be the same. Everyone's going to have different challenges, different barriers that you need to break through and essentially build that trust on the call.
100%. I think something you said there about kind of like the structure of the call from where they're to where they want to be. Like I always say like it's like widening the gap. So if you can ask questions to get someone to obviously find out where they are, but the bigger you make the gap of like where they want to be, the more urgency they'll have with working with you. And I think sometimes it's in a coach's nature to maybe help the person on the call. So you can nearly motivate someone too much where they feel like they can do it themselves. So it's like widening the gap to show them what they need to do, but also then kind of asking them a bit of a consequence question in terms of like, okay, yeah, I know where you want to go, but like, have you thought about if nothing changes and what happens then? So I think it's having the mixture of, you know, widening the gap, but also not being afraid to ask a consequence question, which sometimes can be difficult, but if you know it's in their best interest to ask them a challenging question.
And I think as well, you've got to, I think as well, like something that I learned with you as well is like, not giving too much away on the call, but essentially giving enough to the point where the client knows that they need you. It's two different things. Like beforehand, I'd give some advice, you know, I'd be telling them, okay, like, you know, give them little bits and bobs, but again, it was enough for them to be like, okay, see ya. Whereas now it's like, okay, this is how I'm going to help you, understanding them, but as well breaking the program down to the point where you have a program where they can't say no to. And that's something I learned with you as well. Like my presentation was not a presentation. You know, it was literally a slide. So with you having that presentation, so it actually looks like, okay, well, I can't leave this call without signing up because essentially like this person's going to change my life. Like that's the difference in the sales call as well, like the process of the sales call, how you present yourself, how you present the program, and how you actually say to them, right, do you want to get off here and miss this opportunity essentially? Yeah,
I love that. Continuing with sales calls, so I think a lot of coaches I speak to, when they're like the face of the brand, they're doing all the social media, all the content, and they've been the main coach. If they have coaches or they're planning to get a coach, one thing they can be apprehensive about is, I'm just afraid people will get on a sales call and they'll just want to work with me, or I'll find it very hard to actually give them to one of my like assistant coaches. I think you've been able to navigate that really well. You take all the calls, but you have two very, very good coaches. So can you kind of talk me through how you find that and how you navigate it.
Yeah, so that was something actually, like when you actually said to me, right, we need another coach, I was like, oh my God, no, I can't. Like, people aren't going to want to come with me, you know, people just want to be with me, it's going to cause chaos. And it was the complete opposite. Like, you have to have coaches in your business that relate with you and align with you so that your clients are happy.
Yeah.
Now, the thing with my coaches as well is, like, I've trained them from the start. Like, Lauren's been with me 5 years, Izzy's been with us a year and a half, but essentially they know they know the community.
Yeah.
They know it like the back of their hand. So for me, getting on the call, people already know who they are because they're on my page.
Yeah.
They have a presence. Not even that, they're relatable, they're friendly, they're happy. So for me, that is a massive factor. Like, they have to align with you. Like, I feel like I couldn't have had coaches who weren't bubbly, who weren't themselves, essentially. Like, I want my coaches to be happy and be themselves. So, like, when I get on a call with someone and I literally tell them, like, okay, you know, is he all on the be doing your check-ins and accountability, helping you out?
Yeah.
There's never any hesitance because people already know the presence, they know who they are, and they're happy with that. Not even that, they see the results that they produce.
Yeah.
When they get on the call, they're not going to be like, oh, I want to work with you, because essentially they just know they're coming in to get the results. They're paying for that service and result. And the thing is, like, we have built a service and a brand that is unbelievable. You know, the community aspect, you know, people are buying into the community, people are buying into the result, but they're also buying into the brand and the community that you also get with it. Which is obviously, you know, why people come with us.
Yeah, no, I love that. And I think that actually shows, like, very similar with my business, as like building that kind of foundation. So for me and for you, initially it was like, okay, we need to be the best coach we can be to produce high level results. But then for us to almost take a back seat where it's like, okay, it's actually the brand that's producing these results. So then, as you said, people actually get bought into the brand. And when they get on a sales call with you, they don't care if they're working with you, they don't care if they're working with the coach, they just want to work with your coaching brand.
And especially, like, they see on social media that, you know, like, the 3 coaches are hard work, and, you know, our business is our life.
Yeah.
So the thing is, that's what's going to take, you know, you to bigger client numbers, is you actually portraying your ethos and what it is that you represent. Obviously, our brand is result, it's hard work, it's community, it's normal females who want to get in shape. So people can relate to us that way, and you can relate to the coaches. And, you know, our coaches are a huge part of our brand. Like, they helped build the brand to the point where it is, like, people love them. Not even that, you know, people stay with us because they love the coaches, they love the community aspect. So I think as well, like, before you think of scaling your business, you need that solid foundation to grow, and as well to retain clients. Like, you know, we speak so much about, like, bringing new clients in. Like, a lot of coaches in the industry are so focused on bringing new clients in, but what about retaining the real clients that were there from the start, the people who actually built the business in the first place? So, you know, we have people who've been with us for 3 years, 4 years, you know, and they love it, and they stay because of the community, because of the fact that they don't want to be without it, which I think is so important to me. And that's something as well, like, you know, I'm so passionate about, is keeping the community happy with community days, you know, photo shoots for free, you know, helping the women, like, just empower themselves.
Yeah. And would you say with community and with, like, retention, obviously you kind of spoke there, is there anything, I suppose, even from a team aspect, like having 2 like really loyal coaches, like, working with you for as long as they have, is there anything that you think for you as a business owner you've provided for them, or you do, which kind of keeps them to be empowered, wanting to work for you and work for the brand? I
think for me, the main thing is obviously systemizing everything properly. Like, when you get to the point where you've got a coach, it's quite like one coach. It's like, you do feel a little bit overwhelmed. I'm like, oh, how do you structure this? But then it's like, you know, you actually bringing on another coach is not that far from where you think it is. Like, you know, it's you know, it's around the corner, because obviously once you've got one, that's it. You know, when the leads are coming in regularly and you know, you're signing up more clients, you need to think about having another coach. And I think for me, the reason we have the coaches that we have is because I seen myself in the both of them. Like, you know, how they actually work within their own results and where they started from, how you know, how they execute the training, how they're so, you know, relentless with improving themselves. That's what actually made me want that coach. Like Lauren, for example, like, I remember, like, I was like, I want her as my coach. Like, I literally had this seed planted before I could even branch out for a coach, because I hardly had no clients. So it's like, I always have my eye on it, like, okay, this is the coach you want to bring on. Not even that for me, like, hiring within was essential. Like, I wouldn't hire out, and I never want to say never, but for me, you know, I would, you know, we've brought Lauren up over the past 5 years, Izzy from the past year and a half. We've now got a third coach, Katie, coming on. But again, I've seen similar traits in all of them, which have allowed them to be successful. I think as well, for me, like, they fell in love with the brands as soon as they started. You know, they're so in tight with the community, they're relentless with their own training, how they feel about themselves, where they want to be, like, they want to grow. Not even that, they're passionate about CBL, they're passionate about the business. Not even that, you know, every week, you know, we do calls, we do, you know, systems where we basically assess the clients.
Yeah.
So everything's moving like a train. You know, it never stops. It's like a conveyor belt.
Yeah.
So, is that the right word? Sorry.
Yeah, no,
It's like a train. So, you know, everything's systemized. The girls know exactly what they need to do. You know, not even that, they've got so much more confidence from just leading from the front as well, rather than just being a client now.
Yeah.
And essentially, you know, they've got that much confidence that they're able to turn over the results that they are, which is massive for us.
Yeah, funny you say that. Actually, hiring coach for Team Accomplish, Nadine, she's still a coach now, and hopefully she won't mind me saying the story, but I remember she actually applied for the coaching role, and at the time she wasn't really walking the walk to the level I would want to hire a coach. So I think it was like April time, and I said to her, you're going to prep, you're competing. I was like, prove to me on this prep that you can really like walk the walk and actually lead, that people will be inspired by you, motivated by you. And she went on to that competition prep, like crushed the prep, won first place, and literally like a month later we hired her as a coach. So for me, I was like, okay, I like you, I know you're really bought into the brand, I know you can be a good coach, but there is just something missing, like you're just not leading from the front to the level I'd want a coach to be, but I know you can, so I'm going to set you a challenge. Do your comp prep and actually make it happen, don't have excuses. And then I was like, okay, you've now proven you're now proven you can be a coach. So kind of similar to you in terms of like how you saw them progressing as a client, you knew they could inspire others.
Definitely. And I think for me as well, a massive one was relatability. So like we've got obviously two coaches, Lauren, who's, you know, she's kind of done both. You know, she's had a baby, she's snapped back through obviously hard work. You know, she's now in like a maintenance phase. You know, she's eating a lot of calories, she's building muscle, so she's more like body composition. Whereas Izzy's lost 40 pounds, you know, when she had a young baby. So she's walked the walk. So I feel like, you know, our client base can relate to my two coaches in different ways, which is so important, because one thing for me, I don't want people coming on and thinking, you know, oh God, you know, that coach is not relatable. So I want women to come into the coaching brand knowing that, you know, no matter what their obstacles are, no matter what their barriers are, that they can do anything they want, because the three coaches have done the same. So that to me is so important.
Love that. Just in terms of lead generation, so I know in the past you've had like one or two hires that didn't really work out, didn't really perform to the level that you needed to them, versus currently having a really, really good person in the business. Is there anything like you've learned when it comes to maybe hiring and managing them to kind of get to the level that you need from that perspective?
Okay, so I remember starting with you, and I was just so overwhelmed, wasn't I? Because I was like, oh my God, I've got this VA, and I'm like, I don't know how to manage them. You know, I've had loads of bad VAs, and just no one's invested in my business the way I want them to be. And essentially, you know, it's hard to find a good VA because it's your business. No one's going to run it like you. But now I have two VAs doing 8 hours, you know, in the business, which again, it's just flowing. You know, I remember when I started with you, it was just absolutely everywhere. Didn't know how to manage them properly. I knew I needed one, but didn't know how to manage them. They weren't booking calls, but essentially that was my job to lead, but I didn't know how to lead. So it was where, like, obviously you stepped in and you taught me how to do it, how to actually manage them, and then you obviously give me the idea of actually hiring another one to make it easier. So now, you know, one goes in the morning, 3 hours, then the other one goes in for the whole day. So that's why everything has worked better, because essentially, you know, it's so structured now. It was just so messy beforehand, like, and that's exactly why, like, that's one of the reasons that has got me to the point that I am, because, you know, everything's working better. I know how to manage them as well. I think as well, people hire VAs and just expect them to do the job, but it's like, no, they need you to manage them. But then how do you manage them? Because it's also a skill, knowing how to manage them, then you have to learn it.
And I think people almost hold themselves back from learning that skill and then just put blame there. So it's kind of like, so it's almost a thing. And I think a lot of people it's common for a lot of people. It's like, instead of kind of taking ownership and saying, okay, am I kind of like leading to level, even with coaches, with VAs, with whoever, like in the team, if they're not performing well, is it like, okay, is it them, or could I be empowering them better? Could I have more clarity on where I want to go with the business that gives them a vision that they can work towards? And few people kind of like actually open the door to that realization. Instead, they're just like, oh, they're not good enough.
And I think as well, like, at that point when I started, I was like, is it me, is it them? It's just them. Because I didn't know how to manage the conversations. I didn't know how to actually structure the day for them. So they were just going in the account willy-nilly. Having a chat party in there, but it was like, you know, nothing was running properly, and then I'm blaming them for not booking the calls. But it's like, essentially, you were asking me like, can you be doing things better? So, you know, now I don't think of it like that. I'm like, okay, if calls aren't getting booked or there's obstacles, how can we make that better? How can we improve that? How can I manage the VA so they feel empowered to make money, to make me more money?
100%.
And not even that, bring good leads into the business. Like, we want good leads coming in, people that we want to help. So yeah, like, again, it's a skill in itself, and you need to learn it, because I spent a year not learning it and just passing blame to other people, which essentially is not it's not good for business.
Yeah, no, I love that. And I think it's a trait of any successful person. Do you know, if you don't hit your income target, if your engagement's down, if this is happening, of course, it may be external factors, but like the best way you're going to get to the top is by like, okay, what could I do better? Why did I not hit that? Why is that, like, do you know what I'm saying?
And I think as well, that's where like there's a massive shift in a mindset, like when you start mentorship, because when I actually come to you, sorry, I keep saying that word, when I started, I was always like passing blame, and like, you know, I was always just having such negative self-talk about like, why aren't I getting here? Why isn't this? Nothing was ever good enough, you know? I remember being like 2.5k and getting to like 10, and I was thinking, I'm just not happy. You know, I'm not satisfied. Like, what is it that I want? But then I was like, I know I want to push forward, so I'll keep pushing. But then it's like, once I actually, you know, started with you, it was like I was actually so much more content in myself, because I was like, okay, this is going the right way, but as well, I'm actually in control of everything. And that as well makes a massive difference when you're actually in control of your business, rather than just taking a back seat and letting it control you, and then you not being satisfied. Because I feel like as well, a lot of coaches in the industry, they're just not satisfied where they want to be, and they think they want to be somewhere, but then they don't know how to get there. And, you know, I think you've got to have that essential roadmap, and as well know exactly how you're going to get there. And as well, if things don't go to plan, learn from them, rather than, you know, addressing the constant failures. Learn from the failures as lessons. Like, that is so essential. Yeah,
I think it's funny, like people would probably look at my Instagram and think, when you work with me, I'm like super financially driven, but like I remember even asking you a few times, being like, why do you want to earn more money? I'm like, you're earning so much more money.
Not even that. Like, for me, I needed a mentor that was gonna like understand me. Like, and I felt like that's like, I was like, oh, I just don't know if mentorship's for me, like getting on the call with you, because I was like so overwhelmed. And I was like, I need, like, this is what I don't want, this is what I want, can you do this for me? And you were like, yeah, 100%. And that's the massive shift. Like, even everyone around me says like, you've changed so much, you're so much more calmer, you're in control of everything. Like, I felt like I was just losing complete control of everything, and I wasn't enjoying doing it. Like, felt like I was drowning, really. And now it's like, you want, like, going through the mentorship, you understood exactly what it is that I wanted to achieve. You knew my business inside out, and that's what essentially helped me grow. Like, you know, is the constant help from you and support. And essentially it wasn't generic advice. You know, the advice I was getting was for my business, and that's exactly why I've scaled to the point I am now. You know, people think that, you know, scaling to like 30k plus is going to be so far away, but if you have the right mentor in the business, that's going to help you. It's literally so much closer than what you think.
Yeah. Going from 15 to plus 30k consistently, we discussed like mindset being obviously a huge area for you. But what would you say are like a few other components that like really helped you get there?
So 7 months ago, I didn't know how to sell at all, but I also didn't know how to structure my sales calls or structure my price. Like, I just had a price that I thought was right for me, didn't know if it was right, if it was working for me. It clearly wasn't. So then obviously, you know, you change things around and you encouraged me to sell up front. And I was just like, no, can't sell up front. It's just not something that I've done, you know. I'm just not at that point. But it was like literally the next day I done it, and I sold 3 up fronts, made 3.5 grand in 3 hours. And I remember just messaging you being like, oh my God, I've literally just done 3 up front. So yeah, it was like, that was obviously like the self-belief I needed in myself as well, to know that like, okay, well, this is exactly how I'm going to do it. And as well, knowing like, okay, I've got this much reoccurring revenue coming in, and this is how much I want to match, essentially. And as well, just having that knowledge of like how to actually sell from the 6-month points as well. You know, upsell, like there's so much more than just getting on a sales call and selling to the person. It's like learning how to upsell, learning how to retain them throughout, so that you can obviously come to that next obstacle. Yeah,
I think that's actually something a lot of people who are very against like the upfront don't kind of realise, is like you do actually get to upsell them. So if you have a good coaching program, if your retention's very good, if you have a good upsell process in place, there's a good chance if they've done initial 6 months, they'll be paying you further down the line for another 6 months.
So yeah, I think as well for me, you know, teaching the coaches how to upsell, to give them more ownership, and as well to let them take a little bit more charge in the business. And, you know, essentially they're coaching the clients as well. So, you know, allowing them to just be like, okay, well, listen, this is where I'm going to take you over the next 6 months. And then not even that, you know, the last couple of weeks we've been upselling, and the turnover rate has been massive, you know, so that just shows as well how much it is how important it is. And, you know, it's not just about the new leads coming in. Think about the clients that you've got in the business and how you're going to upsell them.
100%. And I think as well with the coaches doing the upselling and the milestone calls, one, as you said, it gives them more ownership in the business, but 2, it actually incentivizes them to make more money. So I think sometimes business owners can overpay coaches and they don't have much to incentivize, so it's kind of like whatever, you're going to get paid well. Whereas if you can obviously do a decent base pay, but then incentivize through like upselling, if they get a client result, like if there's a few things like that you can give bonuses, then they're not just incentivized to work, they're incentivized to perform at like a really high level.
Definitely. And as well, it's given them more clarity on like what it is that they want. Like they want to obviously build more client relationships, they want to retain clients themselves, because essentially they do want to make more money.
Yeah.
So a question for you is, there's a lot of mentors at the moment in the industry. What makes you different from the rest?
Yeah, good question. So for me, I think business coaching and mentoring can be like how you see it. So you can look in at like a negative approach. Like I definitely see the positives, and I can take a lot of inspiration from other business coaches and mentors. I suppose from my perspective, where I feel I may be different at the point I am in now is, one, I'm still running my own fitness business. So I think that's important for me. I don't want to be giving kind of outdated tactics or strategies in terms of what works right now, because I think, as you know, like online coaching changes quite quickly. So for me, I want to be able to be like, okay, I'm scaling my business, this is what's working, and then kind of like be like, okay, how can we make this relatable to you and your business? And I think that's definitely an important area.
That's a good one. And you know what? That is so true what you said, because I was actually thinking about this the other day, about like how much the online coaching world changes. It's just like constantly changing. So like a year ago, marketing's different, lead generation's different. So you have to keep up with the times. And that's something why it's so important to invest, because it's constantly changing. And if you don't invest and you don't learn, you're going to fall behind. That's what a lot of coaches just leave themselves to fall behind. Yeah,
100%. I think a big thing for me now as well is the one-to-one element. So again, I don't know what the future holds in a few years. Like things may change. Like I'm not against other mentorship models, but just for me now, I really believe in like earning your stripes. So it's the exact same with fitness coaching. I was like, okay, I want to be like the best coach I can be, get amazing results, photo shoots, competition prep, and then I deserve to build the brand I want and scale myself out of it. And that's kind of like the exact same approach I've taken with business coaching. I'm like, I need to earn that. I don't just deserve that. I don't deserve to scale myself out. I need to work one-to-one. I need to be in the trenches. And for me, when someone joins, I genuinely care about them getting as good a result as they do, because I'm like, that's my reputation. That's a result for me. So I think when someone's building their reputation and building their brand, they can be in this like relentless attitude, which I'd say I'm probably in.
Definitely. Yeah, I agree, because again, like the structure that you have is a modern structure, and that's why it works, and that's why people do get successful results, because essentially like it's not outdated, and that's a massive thing, like why I come in as well, because I've learned so much, like things that I never thought I'd even learn, things I wouldn't even think I was capable of even learning, like the technology wise as well.
I think just on a personal level as well, like where is the same when I do fitness coaching and when I do business coaching. Like I'm not afraid to try something with a client and see if it works or if it doesn't. And I think that's like the beauty of business. If someone is so specific on like, this is the strategy all my clients do and this is the way it works, that's not realistic, that's not real life. So sometimes I'll have like a sales strategy. I'm like, oh, one of my other clients crushed it with this, let's try this, Lucy. And you do it, and maybe I watch back a sales call, you give me some feedback, and like, okay, cool, like it's not for you, let's do this instead. And we keep testing it until we actually find something that works. And I think that's important. I think if someone's so almost like narrow focus in their way of doing things and their way of thinking, I don't actually see that as like like some people see that as confidence. I actually don't. I see it as like a lack of confidence.
I see it as like an insecurity thing as well, because like they're not willing to grow, and that's something like I felt like I had a little bit, like I was very wary about like change, and even coming into the mentorship, like, I've learned that my failures are lessons, they're not failures, and that's something I say to you all the time, like, okay, things don't work, no problem, let's move on to something else, and like, what have I learned from that, rather than, oh, it never worked, and that's the difference. Like, you are in the coaching world, you're running a business, like coaches don't realise it's a business, and like you have to have a business mind if you want to be successful. That's something I've learned over the last 6 months, is like how to actually run a business, what works, what doesn't, and also learning from them failures, not taking them as, oh, it's a failure, the lessons, two different things.
Yeah, I love that.
So what's your thoughts on selling upfront versus selling monthly if coaches want to actually build a business?
Yeah, really good question. So for me, I think a business, I'm not for like one side or the other. I think if a business can produce different payment options, I think that's when they'll be like the most successful. So I think people who just say they want to do monthly subscription, in most cases, not all, it's kind of like a scarcity mindset. It's like, oh no, I like need that money every month. But if you have confidence in your lead gen, in your sales, and your coaching brand, you're like, okay, I can continually get leads in. I'm not afraid of next month. So I know if I sell someone upfront this month, I can do that again next month. So when you combine, okay, I have a decent base of monthly recurring, and I'm actually really good at selling upfront payments, I think for me, that's when a business is going to grow at like a lot quicker rate. Even for me, a personal story, like back in 2021, with Accomplish, we were doing like 30 to 35k a month, which is purely recurring revenue. And I wanted to scale it to like 50k. And I was really struggling to do it. It was like, we're at like 170 clients, and it was like one would come in, one would go out, and I just couldn't get past it. And then I started to sell upfront, and I went from that to kind of like 50, 60k in just a matter of months. And our client numbers didn't actually massively change, and our revenue nearly doubled. So it's like, okay, now we're at a point where client fulfillment is the same, expenses are pretty much the same, but all of a sudden we've nearly like doubled our revenue. So I was like, when I could get to that point of, okay, we still have a good, decent base of monthly recurring, but now I know how to sell it up front, then I just created like a completely different business.
Yeah. Definitely, that's a good answer. So I joined the online world now like 4 years ago. Things have massively changed in terms of lead generation, and it's constantly changing and evolving. What would you say are the platforms that you need to actually grow from 30k months?
Yeah, really good question. So I think Instagram is where a lot of coaches have like their primary audience. So I'd always say, like, instead of going elsewhere, if that hasn't been like optimized to the level it could be, I would stick there. For initially, because I'm like, sometimes people dilute their focus. They'll see kind of shiny object syndrome, and they'll be like, hey, I'm doing maybe 5k a month on Instagram, should I do LinkedIn or should I do Facebook? I'm like, you could probably get that to 20, 30k per month with just Instagram. So I wouldn't move away from your primary platform where you make money until you feel it's at like a decent level. So for you, that's a case of like, hey, we have a VA in place, we have a setter in place, content's really good, engagement's really good, we're booking loads of calls. At that point, you could be like, okay, now I think I could diversify. So even just from personal experience, one area we did was a Facebook group, and I know you've been building yours as well. So for me, I thought that was a great opportunity of like, okay, Instagram's in a really good spot. Yeah, we could continue to increase it, but like the machine's been built, it's generating a lot of calls, generating a lot of money. So if we can now build a Facebook group, build a community aspect, and also get that to the same level that Instagram's at, then we've nearly doubled the business, and that's actually what we've done. So I would always make sure if you get into ads, don't just see like, oh, I'm running an ad because this other person's doing it, because sometimes ads just don't work. You could be running like a lead magnet on Instagram, not really getting anything from it, which I've done in the past, whereas we were actually getting people into the Facebook group through a lead magnet. They're joining the group, they're getting nurtured, they're seeing all the content, they felt part of a community. And that uptake for them into clients compared to just doing it to like an email list was like massive. So it's like, hey, I didn't at the time know any other fitness coach doing a Facebook group, but I saw other industries doing it well. So I think the lesson here is, as an online coach, don't just look at what other online coaches are doing. Look at other industries. Are other people doing things differently? Other people doing things well? You can learn something there and actually try implement something similar.
Good. I was going to ask you what you think of LinkedIn. Because that's like, I feel like loads of people are jumping on that now, aren't they, as well? But again, like, people haven't optimized like Instagram. So what do you think of LinkedIn then for online coaches? Because you do see a lot of coaches now just jumping to LinkedIn. Yeah,
good question. So again, like, I have a great friend and old mentor, Chris, who's made loads of money on LinkedIn and absolutely crushed it. So I'll never say anything bad about LinkedIn in terms of what it can do for you. But I think sometimes coaches maybe go into for the wrong reasons. And if a coach, let's say, is like big on like transformation and photo shoots, and they move to LinkedIn and they're working with CEOs, executives, they maybe don't have a huge physique goal, and they're looking to improve like different areas of themselves. For me, sometimes they don't get as much fulfillment from the coaching. Sometimes the coaching team that they have isn't actually the best to serve these people. So it's like they're getting on LinkedIn to get these clients who, again, some of them might be their ideal clients, but I think a lot of times they're not. So from my perspective, I'm like, you should only really want people on your program who are a good fit. And when you're on a sales call, you're like, yeah, I know I can transform this person's life. And full transparency with me, I did LinkedIn with Accomplish, got a few amazing people onto the team, but I also remember being on sales calls and being like, in my head, being like, I actually don't have that much confidence to coach this person. Like, if I get someone from Instagram, body transformation, photo shoot, I'm like, yeah, like, we're the people for you. Sometimes I was getting on calls and I almost held back and like going through the prices and stuff. I like said, we'll set up a second call, because I actually didn't feel confident in our coaching being the right move for them. So that would just be one consideration with LinkedIn.
Okay, great.